exactly one question for you.
Oh, good.
What's up with Noah?
Well, Noah the film with Russell Crowe or Noah my character?
Your character. We can go to that question next.
I haven't seen the film. I don't know. I think he's going through some hard times with God, but I imagine that, they work it out in the end. As for my Noah, he is a complicated character for sure. He's somebody who is so afraid of failure that he's unwilling and uninterested to break out of his shell and strive for success.
Yeah, but he also does some things that I would think maybe seem a little out of character, right? Like he takes Kugel and he babysits and he does these things that kind of show a different side of him.
Well, I think he's got a soft heart at the end of the day. I think that was the influence of his mother, who's been gone for many years, who died years ago. And I think ever since she died, he's been kind of lost in his own downward spiral. But there are still remnants of an interested, engaging guy who just has this wall up that he can't seem to break out of. And I think that it takes staring into the face of, imminent death to really wake up out of that funk.
And he's also a genius. And as a character, you sort of have a lot of different things you can play with. How do you kind of put those things together, to create Noah?
Well, that was what was so fascinating about him is usually we perceive a genius as somebody who applies himself towards some skill set. Noah's a complete opposite. He, what he does do with his intellect is pretty much anybody can do. He trolls on the internet, he blogs, and he's not somebody who really applies himself in any way. When he does apply himself, he is into cosplay and creating unique outfits and costumes for going to Comic-Con. So I think that really fascinated me because it's a side of genius that we've never really seen before, is that, that one who's not necessarily in a laboratory creating incredible things.
Right. And he has I think, a pretty decent relationship with his brother, and he has an interesting relationship with his niece and nephew, and then a challenging relationship with his dad. As an actor, how do you sort of play those levels throughout the film? Is it challenging to kind of emotionally be in different places quickly?
No, as long as you're in the moment. And I think in a movie like this, you don't, we had 26 days to shoot. We obviously had a budget that was limited based on the fact that the money all came from crowdsourcing, from crowdfunding. And so when you have a situation like that, you sort of have to be present every, second the camera's rolling, because it doesn't afford you the time to get to that place. Right. And so there's one scene in particular where I'm going from having sexual relations with a girl in a monster outfit to having to go through a major catharsis on the phone with my niece. And that was something that was certainly challenging, but under Zach's guidance it was comfortable to get there.
And obviously he's got a huge part in the film, but he also wrote it and directed it. What was it like working with him, and was there room to kind of play, and did you improv at all, any of those things?
Well, Zach is somebody who I think to a degree understands his vision so well that the process really played itself out expertly, from beginning to end. And there wasn't necessarily the time to play so much as there was the time to discover in the script stage. So anytime I had a question or anytime that I wanted to understand something more, he would address it in script form. And then on the day of the shoot, we would just go into it and really nail it. And I appreciated that because he's got these convictions where he knows exactly what he needs and exactly what he wants. And it's rare that you get to see that, where somebody, and I think in this case, we didn't have the luxury of doing it any other way. He had to get it done, wearing 5 different hats: writer, director, actor, producer, and Kickstarter connoisseur, right? So that to me was a fascinating exploration of what somebody can do when they're wearing so many different hats. Made in Hollywood.